Hey folks, welcome to the channel. In today's build, we're going to be working on a karambit. My version of the karambit is a little shorter and more like a talon, which I think looks really cool. So I'm excited to start this new build.
So I'm actually going to do a San-Mai. This is some 1080, and I'm going to just San-Mai some nickel steel around it. And then I should get a really shiny, kind of wavy. The top will be nice and shiny up here, and then a nice black edge. I think that'll look really cool. The only thing I'm worried about is the 15 and 20 I have is pretty thin, so I have to double it up. I think I'm going to have to weld the edges and weld this whole seam so that these things don't buckle and spread apart and then start to oxidize, and then I won't get a good forge weld. So a little bit of welding on this. That's why I got a bigger billet than I think I need. But let's give it a shot. Okay, I'm going to start the rough grinding on this. The first thing I'm going to do is just take this down, take the edge off it, and then just throw it in the etch just to see where the high carbon center is. Well, I guess it's all high carbon, but where the 1080 is, just to make sure it's in the middle. I may have to grind a little bit more off one side, so I want to know that now. And then I'll start to draw the karambit on here. So let's go. So I'm going to drill the holes for the pins here. So I've kind of eyeballed the center pin, and I'm just going to use my calipers here. You want the pins to be equidistant, so I want it about there. So I'll just lock that in. And here, there. So now, and I do want them centered point to point here. I don't like to eyeball this, so I'm going to do calipers and use a punch. So I've skeletonized the handle. Now I'm just going to use this countersink just to put bevels on all the holes, just so that when I put the scales on, the epoxy has something to grip to. So there it is, ready for the heat treat. I've taken quite a bit of weight out of it, because it is pretty thick, but I wanted to keep it like that. I'm not going to do the bevels now. Because it's a San-Mai, it may have a tendency to warp. So the thicker I leave it, the less chance I have of warping. So I'm going to do the bevels after. I've still got to clean up the hole after, but I think everything else I can do after, after the heat treat. So I'm going to get that done after normalizing it a couple times, and then we'll go to the next step. So the heat treat went well. I got it locked into my little jig here just to keep it straight, and into the tempering oven at about 450. So I did a bit of grinding on this. I just took the forge scale off it after the heat treat. I'm ready to start the bevels. I think I took a little bit of width off of it. I want to leave it kind of thick just for the shape of the blade. So this is definitely a sharp edge. I haven't quite decided if I'm going to make this a false edge or if I'm actually going to sharpen it. I'll have to think about that. So I'm done with the bevel grinding. This is probably the most challenging blade I've ever done. I've never done such a tight inside curve like this. It was really rough getting this bevel in here to try and get this correct and then come up and do the false edge. It's such a narrow false edge, but it's pretty much matching. I'm going to finish it up with some hand sanding. But I think it turned out pretty well. So I'm going to go with it. There's some things I don't love, like there's a little bevel here, but you know, once it's hand sanded, hopefully all that just blends in. But I love the shape. Kind of came out like a talon, which is what I wanted. So let's start the hand sanding. So I've etched the blade. I'm not going to show you just now. You'll see it in the final reveal. But you will notice that I left it kind of black. So I've taken some of the oxides off, but not all. I want it to have a black finish. So you'll see what it looks like. So let's talk a handle material. So I'm going to be using G10 because I want a bit of a black tone here and red G10 liners on the inside. So I think that'll pop. And look pretty good. So let's cut these out and we'll start the glue up. I'm just double checking I'm getting the liner on the right side of the G10 here.